All right, we're gonna work with sound cues tonight, and take a look at how we can put sound into our level. All right, I've got my Brad Resources folder open right here, and to start with the sound cue, I'm just simply going to right-click in that folder, and then you see I can go up to Sounds, and then I have Sound Cue. So that's what I'm just going to do. I'm going to grab a sound cue right there. It brings the sound cue up. You can rename it. So I'll just give it something pretty generic, Sound 01. Just so I know what I'm doing. So I put it over here. There's my sound. I didn't associate anything with that sound. So when I hit play, we don't hear anything. I'm even going to turn my sound up a bit here. Hopefully that won't be too loud. Looks like it's still playing, but I haven't associated it with anything. So let's open it up. So I'm going to double click it to open up my sound cue. There it is. And you know what? Let's dock this right there. Here's what the sound cue editor looks like. So across the top, we've got our menu bar, which is pretty much the same as if we were doing anything else. It's got, if we were in the level or whatever. Then it's got our save browse. So this will browse our content browser for sounds. If we want to press the solo button, if I have multiple sounds going on in here, the solo button will mute all the sounds except the selected sound. That's what solo is. It means that you're by yourself. So if I have multiple sounds, pressing solo will mute all the other sounds. Here's how you mute the sounds. You just select them in your viewport here and press mute. And then you can play and then you can stop. All right, over here is our details or our properties of all the different sounds that we have. This main area, this is our viewport right here. And then over on the right is our palette where we have our different parameters that we can use here. And we'll play around with some of these. And then I'll point you into the Unreal documentation where you can take a look at all the different features there. So the first thing we want to do is we see that we have output here. What if I really just want to create a sound? So the way we'll do that is I'm going to right click, and I need to get a wave in there. We've all heard of wave files. And so they're in here alphabetically, so I'm going to scroll down, and you can see it says Wave Player. So I'm going to click on Wave Player. I could also have searched for it up there. And let's just start by connecting the output of my Wave Player to the output here. Think of this output as like your speaker. That's why there's a picture of a speaker here, a cone, speaker cone. That's the output. Think of it as like a speaker. And how many of you have ever worked with a mixing board for music? Anybody? No one's ever worked with a mixing board? Okay, that's fine. Oh, you've worked with one?
Technically speaking, I have, but that's mostly because my dad's in a band, so he's like super huge and he uses for his own productions.
Okay. Well, you've seen one, you know what it is, and you've played around with it a little bit. Okay. That will benefit you here because of the connections. It's similar to connecting things in a mixing board, and usually we use a mixing board like for a band. Okay, we've got for a band I might have a guitar and a bass guitar. I might have keyboards. I'm going to have a singer. I'm going to have drums, and all of those things need to go into one box, and then they need to output to the speakers. Okay. So that's what we're doing, that's how we should be thinking of this. All right, so I've selected my wave player here. I don't have a sound associated with this. There are sounds in this level, so I'm just going to say none. And then these are just default sounds, so I can pick one, like Explosion 1. All right, if I want to hear it, I'm just going to click on the play the cue. Oh, good. Okay, there it is. So hopefully that wasn't too loud. All right, so there's my first sound is Explosion 1. When I hit play cue, you'll notice that it indicated that it was playing by sending that little stream. Wow, I don't know why that was even louder, but let's turn that down a little bit. Sorry, try it again. All right, much better. I don't know why it turned up the second time. But anyway, so we've got an explosion. That's pretty cool. What if I want to add more wave sounds in here? So last time I right-clicked and added it. Let's do it this way this time. Let's drag a wave player over. So I've got that. And let's go ahead and select a sound. And I don't know, how about fire? And if I connect it to my speaker, notice that it disconnects the previous one. But let's go ahead and play it. It's the sound of fire. Okay, that's pretty cool. But if it disconnects and it's only allowing me one, how do I get multiple in here? Well, I just asked you about a minute ago the question, have you ever played with a mixer? So there is a mixer right here. Let's drag the mixer off. And the mixer has multiple inputs, and it has usually one output, but it can have, in real life, mixers have multiple outputs because I might have an output going to the speakers. If I'm the sound guy working the band, I would also need an output going to my headphones so that I can hear more the true sound instead of having to listen to it through the speakers. And that way I can adjust. Do I want more bass guitar? Do I want more lead guitar? Do I want the vocals to go up, to go down? What do I want? And it's the same way here in our game. Some things we may need to adjust higher, lower, whatever. So I'm going to add this into the input of the mixer there. I'll add this one into the second input, and then the output of the mixer goes into my speaker. It automatically disconnected the other one, so now I've got both of these going on at the same time. Let's hit play. So you can hear the fire, we heard the explosion, so far so good. What if I want to add even more? There's only two inputs right here. Well, you can click this little button, add input. So let's add a couple more inputs on there, and let's do some more sounds. So we found two ways to add wave players. Now I'm just going to do Control C, Control V, Control V. And be aware that it's got the fire in there already. So I just select it, come over here, and I'm going to change the sound wave. I'll change it to, I don't know, I didn't know smoke had sound, but we're going to use that one. And then I think there's some birds in here somewhere. Oh, there's birds. All right. And I'll just connect these to the mixer. So we just keep adding more and more and more sounds here. So now when I hit play, all right, very cool. Then I'll hit stop.
Sounds like there are birds on fire.
Birds on fire. They're phoenixes. And so anyway, so that's how to add multiple sounds there. Now let's talk about some effects. Now the explosion was really loud. What if I didn't want the explosion to be so loud? Well, I can turn it down a little bit. Okay, I can turn it down. So I'm going to select my mixer and see by the inputs here, it allows me to adjust the input amount here. So if I didn't want the, let's see how loud the explosion is. Okay, let's turn it down to about half of that, 0.5. Oops, 0.5. So I reduced the signal or the input from the explosion. It wasn't so loud because if it was too loud, I did that here within my mixer. All right. And so, and maybe I want the fire to be a little bit lower, maybe 0.7, and so now I can hear the other things. All right, now I can't hear the smoke, so let's find out what the smoke is like. So I'm going to press smoke, and I would like to solo the smoke. So I just want to hear the smoke now. Oh. That didn't work. Let's mute the others first, I guess. Mute, mute, mute. All right. Play. Oh, how'd that get muted? Yes.
Have you tried to just hit play notes so you kind of only hit a single note?
Say that again.
Try hitting play note instead of play cue.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. So the solo is for the whole, this particular sound cue is what it is, not for these individual nodes. So thank you. Yeah, I'm just going to select the node and hit play node. That's the smoke sound. How does that differ from the fire? They're similar but different, but they're pretty similar. So it can be hard to differentiate between these two. So thank you for that. All right, so let's look at some of these other nodes over here in the palette. We've got a delay. So maybe I want the explosion to delay by 2 seconds. So I'm going to add a delay in there. And then now when I hit play cue, we didn't set the delay. Look at that. There's no delay on it. The default is 0. So I'm going to set a 2-second minimum delay on that. So I was wondering why it went off right away. So now when I play cue, 1001, 1002. It counts pretty fast. But anyway, so there's the delay. So you can delay sounds from happening by adding delays. Let's pull that out of the way. Here's a fun one, looping. So what if I would like to loop the explosion? So I'll just add looping to it. And I can either loop it a certain number of times or I can loop it indefinitely. So now when I hit play, it just loops over and over and over again. Let's see if it'll outlast the birds. There it is. It'll just go and go. All right. So looping will just make it go over and over either as many times or indefinitely, whatever you want there. All right, let's take a look at some of these others. Any question on the mixer, delay, looping, any of these features so far? They're pretty straightforward. It's if you understand what they do, they're not real difficult. Let's pull off a random node here. What in the world is a random node? Well, a random node means I'm gonna pull the mixer up here. A random node means that I can have multiple sounds and it will just randomly pick one of the sounds to use. So I'm gonna connect all of these. I need to add 2 more inputs so I can connect those. And then again, my output will go into there. It disconnects the other output. So I'm not even using delay and mixer, but I left them connected, left the inputs connected, but the outputs have been disconnected. All right, so now when we hit play cue, because it's random, it will randomly pick between one of these four wave files. So play cue. I'll press it again. Smoke again. Again. So every time I press it, it's randomly choosing one of the wave files. So it's kind of a fun way if you want to add a little variety of sounds to whatever it is you want sound for, then the random node is for that. It just randomly picks a sound. Let's see. You can have some fun with some of these as well because they do different things. So do you know what the Doppler effect is? What's the Doppler effect? Yeah, it's like if you're standing on the street and you hear the fire truck coming at you, right? It goes, wee, 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 wee. and gets louder, and the pitch kind of changes. And it goes further away from you. The pitch gets lower as it gets further away. Okay? That's the Doppler effect. And so you can do that in Unreal as well, so that things as they get further away from you, they kind of diminish. But also at the same time, their pitch diminishes. You can see right there, it says it computes a Doppler pitch shift. Okay? So it does both at the same time. It diminishes the pitch and the sound of it. Now, so we could use that. Let's see. What else could we use? What about attenuation? There's another common one. Who knows what attenuation is? Any guesses? No? To attenuate a sound means that the further away you get from it, the lighter the sound becomes. Okay? When you attenuate something, the further away you get from it, then the less of it you get. How about that? So it's the same with light. Light can be attenuated as well. The further away we get from a light, the light rays are distributed, and the further away we get, the less the light affects us and shines on us, our clothing, our skin, and everything. So the light can have attenuation. Sound can have attenuation as well. So that's what attenuation does in there. So if you, let's say you have a grove where you have the birds singing, and but you only want the person, the player of your game, to hear the birds when they start to get close to the birds. Well, then you would use attenuation for that. So the closer you get to the birds, the larger the sound will be. What does it say? Defines how a sound's volume changes based on distance to the listener. The closer you get to the grove of birds, the louder the bird sound will be, and the further away you get from the grove of birds, the less the sound will be. It'll decrease. So that's what attenuation does. So anyway, so this is how to set up a sound cue, and these are some of the nodes that you can use to set it up with. Now there's a whole bunch of others in here that we didn't look at, and if you want to explore a little bit more with some of these, then you should go to the Unreal Engine documentation and take a look at what they've got listed there. So you can type in UE5 Sound Cue, and then when I look, I always look for the thing that says docs.unrealengine.com, because some of them, like you'll find some Reddits on it and things like that. Here's other ones, a soundeffect.com and Stack Overflow. I like to first go to the actual documentation that Epic puts out. So I go to the Sound Cue Editor sheet here, and then I can see right here I've got sound attenuation right here, and it talks about the distance, linear. So as the sound attenuates linearly, or it can attenuate logarithmically. Here it talks about the Sound Cue Editor. That looks very similar to something that we've created here. Sound cues, sound waves. One other thing is that Unreal Engine will only accept the .wav files. Excuse me. .wav files. Those are wave files. It won't take other types of sound files. So it won't take what do you call them, MP3s and things like that. So when you're importing sounds, it shows you creating sounds. This shows how to import sounds, but just like materials, you can just click and drag them right into your content browser. Okay? And here it is. At this time, you can only import WAV files as sound files. So maybe in the future they'll do MP3s, but right now it's a WAV file. Let's do a quick test here. and let's record a sound file and use it on our own. So I'm going to open up a sound recording program called Audacity. There it is. It's on all your computers. It's already in your computer. And let's wait till it comes up. And we can record an audio file using Audacity. All right, so hold on, it came up on my other monitor. Here it is. Here's Audacity. And so it's just a simple audio editor, but it does have some effects, and it's actually pretty robust for being a free audio editor. But let's see if the microphone it's using currently, it says is the Realtek microphone. That is that's the microphone that comes with this computer. And let's see if it's using it. So I'm just going to hit the record button, and I will keep talking and see. There it is. You can see. And if I get really soft with my voice, then you can see the wave file is really low. But if I get loud, then the wave file gets much larger. So, so these are wave files here. And then Audacity should have a, it should have an output exporter for wave files. So I'm going to, instead of saving, you would want to export as a wave file. And you can see there's different types here, but since Unreal only accepts wave files, we'll do that. But let's do something that's a little bit more fun. I'm going to delete this. I just wanted to show you how that worked. So I'm just going to make a sound that I'm going to put in my Unreal Engine. Whoop! I'm just going to make a whooping sound or something. Now, I've got all of this extra here. I gave it a little bit of entry, a little bit of space before and a little bit of space after, and I don't want all that. I just want the whoop sound right there. So I need to cut this. It's pretty easy to cut pieces out of here if you literally click and drag and then just press the delete key on your keyboard, and it deletes it. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'll go to the front, click, drag, and just press delete. And now it's got just this tiny little part where I did the whoop, and then I'm going to export it. File, export, wave. And then it's going to come up and say, where do you want to save it and what do you want to call it? So I'm going to save it on my D drive in my Brad folder. And I don't know, maybe I'll have a sounds folder. So I'll create new folder, and I'll just call it sounds. And this will be my whoop sound. Whoop. And then you can see it's going to be a wave file, so I'm going to save it. You can put all this information on there if you want to. You don't have to. It's not necessary. I'm just going to say OK. So I didn't tag it with anything. I just used a pretty generic thing there. All right, I'm going to take it back. Let's go back into, and one of the cool things about having the content browser is I can pull the content browser up even here when I'm in any of these tabs across the editor right there. So I'm going to go back into my Brad resources. Let's click on my Windows editor here. Whoops, nope, don't do that. Go to my D drive in my Brad folder, in my sounds folder. There's the whoop wave file, and let's click it, drag it, and drop it right into my Brad resources folder. Let's pull it up again. And there it is. We can see it. Let's hit the play button. Woo! There it is. All right. So that's pretty good. That's my wave sound. And I'd like to add that to my sound cue in here. So again, I'll just drag off a wave player and then select it and choose. Did I rename it? I think I called it there it is, whoop. All right, and now I can add it to my, you know what I'm going to use? I'm going to get rid of the random and use the mixer, so it'll play all the sounds. And then I'll add another input, grab the whoop, and now I can play it. All right, it's so short, I should probably loop it. Let's drag the looper down here and connect. Let's loop the whooping sound now. And so, whoops, wrong input there. This, you can see how it gets kind of messy here if you leave stuff. And so if I were to clean it up, I'm going to delete all those and delete that, and now it looks pretty clean. So, all right, I like it. Let's see. All right, so what's that?
That is one messed up bird.
That is a messed up bird. So you can have fun with that. You can make your own sounds. I've recorded plenty of sounds before. One time I needed a clinking sound, so I took my keys and I got my microphone and I thought, well, that sounds kind of close to coins. I didn't have any coins on me at the time, and so I just recorded it. And I had to trim it a little bit, and I did it several times until I got the sound that I wanted. So you can get several sounds. If you need a clicking sound, use a marker. Now I've got a clicking sound, right? When you click with your mouse on certain things, you need a clicking sound. So sounds that are around you, you can record them, bring them into Unreal, and totally orchestrate all original sounds from you into the engine. All right, so that's what you want to do. And I just put all these together into one sound cue. You probably wouldn't do that normally. You'd have the whoop on its own, and you'd have the birds on their own, and you'd have each one of these be their own sound cue. And so I wouldn't put them all into one, but sometimes when you do want to mix sounds, that's when you'll use the mixer right there. Okay? So that's why I did it, is just to show you that you can have multiple sounds there as well. All right, so how do I get this into my level? So let's go ahead and save it. Let's go back into my level, and I don't know if I have a third-person player here, do I? No, I've got a car. All right, well, let's put a trigger volume here. All right, so I'm going to put a trigger box right here, and I'm just going to go up here, add a basic component, trigger box, boom. Add a trigger box right here, and I probably want to enlarge the trigger box to, I could scale it, or I can come up here and, where's my inputs? Box extent right there. So I'm going to set it to, like, I don't know, 200. I want it to be a pretty large extent there. So my car has to hit it. So it's large enough that it's going to affect, the car will definitely run into it. And then I want to be able to see it in my viewport. And so notice this is a trigger box. In the past, we've used trigger volumes. The trigger box will allow me, here you can see, I want to be able to see it in my level. So it is visible currently, but it's hidden in the game. So I'm going to uncheck that so I can see it. So now when I play, there it is. You can see the green box there. All right, so I can see it. Let's hook it up to something. So it's selected. Let's go into our blueprint. So I'll go into my level blueprint. So there it is, and then open level blueprint. Here's my level blueprint, and because my trigger box is selected, I'm going to right click, add event for trigger, add a collision event, add an on actor begin overlap collision event for the trigger box right there. Now, what do I want to do? I want to play something. So let's see if we can play. There's a lot of plays in here. So can I play a sound cue? Let's see. Play. How about sound? Is there a cue? Play sound. Prime sound cue for playback? I don't know if that's what I want. There's my call it? Sound 01. There it is. I'm not sure if that's the one I want, but we'll try it. Compile. You compile. Save it. All right, so when it overlaps, it's going to play prime the sound cue for playback. Begin loading any sounds reference so that it can be played immediately. Target is audio mixer. Yeah, that doesn't sound like it is. Let's test it, but I don't think that's the one we want. Come on, go up, go up. Oh, I guess I got to click in the viewport. Yeah, it didn't trigger it, so try another one.
So the actors and the overlap.
The what?
On the blueprint. The overlapped actors.
The overlapped actors, what?
Especially like a reference to the car.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it knows. It's just, it sets it to any of the actors. It's just, it's called when another actor begins to overlap it. The car is an actor, so it'll do that. But I don't think this is correct. So let's find another one. So let's, so what was sound? Play, I don't know, play sound at location? I'm going to delete that one. Let's try sound 1 here. Boom. Oh, at location. Okay. That's kind of interesting. So I can play sound at location when it's collided with. What's the location of this trigger box right here? Let's just play it right there at the trigger box. So I've got the trigger box selected. So let's go into here. Let's right click and let's create a reference to the trigger box here. We had it selected. Let's create a reference to it. I would like to, I'll pull it back. Notice it's a blue node and I'm trying to plug it into a yellow node, right? So if I try to do that, it's like, nope, not going to do it. So I need to get the coordinates for this. I need to get actor location. Whoops. Get actor location. Then it turns it into a yellow node, and I can plug that into there. So now it's going to, when another actor overlaps it, it's going to play this sound at this location, the location of the actual trigger box, which is right here. So let's try that. Let's compile it. It compiles. We'll save it, and let's go ahead and play. I forgot to take the loop off. So it's looping there. And that's how you add play sound. You can play sound at location. That's probably a good way to do it. But that's how you get your sounds into your level if you would like them. Now, they don't have to be, sounds don't have to be triggered. Sounds can already exist in your level. Okay? Sounds can exist in your level already. And so let's look at that. I don't know, I guess I didn't realize I had so much bumpy terrain there. So let's try a different area. How about the bridge? So on the bridge, let's do a bird sound. So I'm going to create a new, I don't know, can I take the whoop and the whoop will now be on the, that's just a WAV file though. Yeah, that's just a WAV file. That's not gonna, that shouldn't do anything. Let's test it. We shouldn't. Whoop! You played once. That was kind of fun. So it played once, but if I wanted something like the birds in there, I'm going to create a sound cue. So keep in mind, this is purple. It's a WAV file. The blue is a sound cue. We really want the sound cue, so we would attach the WAV file to the sound cue and place the sound cue in the level, okay? So I'm going to right-click, go to Sounds, Sound Cue. This will be my my birds, and so I'm gonna get rid of that my whoop there. So here's my sound cue, and then I'll click and drag and drop it here on my bridge. The sound of birds on the bridge. But what if I add some attenuation to them? So I'm gonna click it. Let's go ahead and add the wave file in here. So I'm gonna bring my wave player and select it. Let's choose the birds. Starter birds. Before we connect it, let's put an attenuation in there. What is the attenuation? Here's attenuation settings. Let's see what we've got available to us. Sound attenuation, no results, check your filter. Let's see. Oh, that's just browsing right there. We may put, whoops, wrong one. We may put, I don't have a, let's see. Yeah, I don't have anything to put in there right now. Override attenuation. There we go. All right, good. So here's my attenuation settings. So the inner radius is going to be 400 units. That's unreal units. And then the fall off distance. So it's going to give me the full bird sound from 0 to 400 units, and the sound will start to attenuate after 400 units all the way out to 3,600 units, and after 3,600 units you won't hear the bird sound at all anymore. Okay? That's what the inner radius and the fall off distance mean right there. Alright, so I kind of like that. Let's just leave it as the default. I'll save it, and let's see how that plays here in our level. So, that looks like there's the 400 right there. And then you can see the wider, hopefully you can see that. So the 400 is right here. It's while you're on the bridge, the full sound of the birds. And then it will play as far out as this other yellow, as that other yellow circle right there that you see. So once I get past this curve in the road here, I probably won't hear them anymore. Let's see if my car will drive on that. I think I was just playing with it, so actually I'm going to pull it down a little bit maybe. Now see if my car can get on there, and maybe I should, let's, there we go. All right. And play. Oh, see, I hear the birds. Oh, oh, oh. And then it fades out. And then if I get back in there, the closer I get to it, ooh, it only played once. That's interesting. All right. So that's how you get your sound in there. I guess I need to set it to trigger multiple times.
Or looping.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. Looping, thank you. Because the sound just wore out. It wasn't that I got away from it. It's that I didn't loop it. You're absolutely right. So I need to add my looper into here. I'm going to loop it indefinitely. Save it. Thank you for reminding me of that. So now when I hit play, you get away from it, the sound goes off. And then as I get closer, it just keeps going on forever and ever and ever and ever. Pretty cool. Yeah, Seth.
Okay, I'm pretty curious. So you have that in like the trigger dogs. Is it possible to like put it on like
can you add a trigger box can you make a trigger box dynamic is what you're asking?
Essentially.
Let's see if it allows for it. That's a great question.
I'm just like thinking about like how we get, things to, I don't know, if you're playing a game and like an enemy is chasing you and like, it gets louder as the enemy approaches, which means that there's probably something around the enemy, right?
So what you can do is you can attach, yes you can attach it, but you would do it in the components of an object. So I wouldn't do it here in the outliner. It's in the blueprint of the object that you have. So let's say, do I have any objects in here? Let me see.
You have your perpetual moving object.
So yeah, so let's say, my perpetual movement object here. So I have that. And so here's the components. Remember we added a rotating movement component on this? So the actor, there it is. We have a rotating movement component on this. And so what I'll do is I'll take this, make it down so you can see it, and I will add a component, and the component I'm going to add is going to be a trigger box. So I will go, we've got collision. Oops, let me see, trigger. So I don't have a trigger component on there. That's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Could you instead do the audio component that's at the top of the list? When you click add, there's an audio component.
For adding here?
Yeah, would that work instead?
Yeah, I thought you wanted, like, if a bullet comes at somebody and hits them, and there's like the thud or something, it would be a sound that was triggered when that bullet hit or whatever that projectile was. It's the sound of a projectile hitting something that's moving, like a player or a vehicle. So, but yes, you could do the audio if it was going to remain static. And so, because if it's audio, if you attached an audio component to it, it'll be with it all the time, but the sound won't be triggered. It'll just always be with it. Does that make sense? Yeah. So we're looking for a trigger on there. So maybe you can maybe you have to do it a different way. So I'll have to take a look at that. So let me go ahead and stop recording because that's what I wanted to go over today with you all about that.